now I got to weasel out of it. I made one lie, and now I'm squirming. I'm wearing these bunchy pants, and now I'm trying to talk myself out of it. Curb Your Enthusiasm is a show that everybody kept telling me about and telling me to watch for many, many years.
Curb Your Enthusiasm is about the real life adventures of George Costanza.
Curb Your Enthusiasm should be called Old Man Complains About Stuff.
Hey, that's the name of this podcast. Hey, everybody, welcome to Fallingtower's Watch the First, the podcast in which we watch the first episode of a series so that you don't have to.
Why watch a 30-minute show when you can watch us talk about it for an hour?
Right. Be efficient, guys. Now, with us, as always, is the fake life story of George Costanza, Michael Kenyon Rosenberg.
Oh.
Wait, does that even work? No.
I don't even know if it does. I don't think it does, though.
Also joining us today, you know him, you like him, writer, director, Steadicam op, smooth operator, Scott P. Baker.
G.
The G is for good.
The G is
Good,
silent
yes,
and sounds like a P.
Yes.
My name is Ryan T. Husk. I make stuff up. So
the T is for terrific.
Thank you.
Totally trustworthy. That's right.
And today we are doing a review of Curb Your Enthusiasm. That's Larry David's famous show, the first episode entitled The Pants Tent. If you want us to review a show, whether you like it, whether you hate it, whether you don't know, and you just want to find out what we have to say about it before you watch it, just put in the comment section below WTF and the show. For example, you could do WTF Remington Steele, WTF Perry Mason, WTF. No, I'm not going to say that one. But you get the gist.
So we won't do that one, whatever it was that Ryan was saying. But...
I just thought better of it. Anyway, so let's go ahead and get into it. First thing we do is we compare and contrast what we expected versus what we...
First thing we do is predictions.
Predict things. Also, I was actually thinking that we should say who recommended this because we forgot last week.
Yeah.
Until you remembered at the end.
Right.
Kat Guerin, right?
Yep. While we were reviewing Seinfeld,
Mm-hmm.
Kat Guerin gave us the recommendation. I think we probably had some other recommendations in like the live chat, but that's why you have to put your recommendations in the comments.
Yes.
Because live chat goes away. It goes away, and then we never look at it ever again. But
right.
If you put your comments in the recommendations in the comments below, it's there for all of eternity, and we can forever go back and look at it easily.
For Eternia, like He-Man.
Get it.
Yep.
Get it tattooed on your arm, take a picture, and post it on your Instagram.
Yep.
No, that wouldn't work because then we wouldn't see it still. So you'd have to put link in the comments. Yeah, I don't think we allow links in comments, but
Twitter. Do you guys have a Twitter?
We do.
So we also I think possibly Kat definitely did, and possibly Bridget recommended. It feels like a few people recommended. But anyway,
for sure, Kat did. I know that.
All right,
Seinfeld.
Was it a good recommendation? Was it a bad one? Was it a fun one? You're about to find out. Now, Michael and I have known each other for over a score, and that's not just a delicious candy bar treat.
Mm-hmm.
But whatchamacallit?
That's another candy bar treat.
No.
100 grand.
Scott's like, what have I gotten into?
Scott, stop snickering.
That was solid. I like that one. Okay.
I could blast myself off to a different quadrant of the Milky Way.
Okay. I see what you did there, baby Ruth.
Yeah, we're going to make some predictions based on what we know about each other. and decide if the other person may have liked it or not. Michael, I think that oh, come on. What am I talking? I was trying to think of other candy bar things and I was buying time. But now that I actually thought about dude, yes, of course you love this show. You've probably seen it 1,000 times. You can probably quote it. You have favorite episodes. When I was watching this, I was like, Mike loves this crap. Okay. You're going to give it like a 9.5. Scott, I think you liked it very much, but you will never admit that something's really good because you're kind of a curmudgeon unless it's like sci-fi or horror related or both. Because then you also kind of want to be like, like artsy, to where you're like,
he's too cool. Yeah.
Yeah. So like the highest you'll give a comedy is like a 7 or 8, unless it's like super dark, then you might give it a 10, So I think that you're going to be as warm as possible for a situational comedy.
Okay. Well, I know Ryan pretty well, and I know that he's a huge fan of Seinfeld. And based on that, and based on what I know about him, he does not like to watch things that are recommended to him, especially if I recommend it to him, he'll never watch it unless somebody else like recommends it to him, and then he'll be like, all right, begrudgingly he'll watch it. But I think that this is a show that he begrudgingly watched, but found it entertaining and laughed a lot and liked it. Scott, I think he's got a sense of humor, and so I think that he liked it as well.
Please.
I've never laughed in my life.
As he laughs.
Yeah.
He says laughingly. Okay.
I just this. I don't even have to know Ryan, but just the background picture that he picked for the episode. That I know that he likes.
Toilet
junior
humor,
high school, toilet humor. So anything that has to do with like the crotch region, he's gonna find hilarious. So I'm gonna say that Ryan probably gave it like a 7.5, 8, something like that. And I think Mike, I think this is definitely your kind of thing. Like Ryan was saying about knowing every episode or something. And if you haven't already done that, I feel this is definitely a show that you would do that. So probably like a high 8, low 9 is my guess on that.
So everybody at home or watching on the road dangerously, it's time for that payday. You give us, thank you. You give us your guesses. Do you think I liked it? Do you think Michael or Scott liked it? You've gotten a lot of hints, okay? So you may have some ideas or you might disagree with us totally. But you got a minute to do it because Michael's going to tell us what the show is all about.
Life and times of Larry David and the predicaments he gets himself into with his friends and complete strangers. In this episode, an innocent bunch-up in Larry's trousers causes a misunderstanding with Cheryl's friend Nancy at the movies. He also manages to offend his friend Richard Lewis's new girlfriend.
It's funny, I called it a bunch-up in his pants. I mean,
it's like a tent.
Okay. I was about to talk about it more, but let's just stick to the plan, guys. This is important. So next, this is, I think it's Scott's actual favorite segment. Right, Scott? We call it
Expectations.
It's we compare and contrast what we expected versus what we actually got. So
Expectations. Yep.
Right. So Michael Kenyon Rosenberg, before you watched this first episode of the Curb Your Enthusiasm, the Pants Tent.
The Pants Tent.
What did you expect?
Well, I mean, I'll just go ahead and spoil it that I have seen this episode before
Many times.
more than once. I wouldn't say many times, but more than once, more than twice, actually. So I knew what to expect. I mean, this is probably the episode that I've seen the most. Like, you try to get people into watching the show, so you watch this first episode.
See, I knew you were a try to get them to watch it guy for this show. I knew it.
Yeah, well, I like the shows that I like, and actually, this was a show that for me, I came into it late. I mean, this first episode is from like the year 2000. This is
What?
old. Yeah, year 2000. And so here's the thing about this show is there's 10 seasons, but the 10th season, actually they're working on the 11th season right now.
After a 10-year hiatus.
But yeah, they take a couple years. It's just that Larry David just makes the show whenever he wants. He takes a couple years off. He makes a season, takes another couple years off. He doesn't care. He's got the money. What does he care?
He's like Honey Badger.
So yeah, he don't care. So I expected to like it because I had seen it before.
Well.
I expected it was going to be funny.
It seems as though the shoe is in the other mouth.
Mm-hmm.
Scott, like you are laughing, Scott. What did you expect before you watched this first episode?
I mean, I haven't seen a whole episode of it before. I've seen clips of it, and so was because it's part of the cultural geist at this point,
milieu,
and things like yes, and so I feel like I expected it to be a sitcom-y sort of thing, and the Larry David Seinfeld humor sort of thing, and so that's pretty much. Is this the point where I say the stuff that I got versus what I expected?
No, this is just what you expected.
Okay, gotta take it. It's hard to say what I expected without following that up. So yeah, I mean, I expected a with sitcom thing that was kind of funny and that sort of New Yorky, Seinfeld-y humor.
Yeah, but you're a professional. That's why we have you on here. So.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of professionals. I'll tell you what I expected before I watched it. I'd never seen it before, not even a clip. A lot of people tried to make me watch the show. I remember as far back, I remember where I was at least one of the first times somebody, they all say the same thing. Oh, do you watch Curb Your Enthusiasm? Oh, you should. Oh, you should. Oh,
you gotta watch it.
You'd love it. Oh, they always try to personalize it. Like, not just that they're saying it's my favorite show. They're saying, no, I'm sacrificing. You would like it. And I knew that it was basically like Larry David was basically the guy that George Costanza was modeled after. Mm-hmm. And it was going to be probably the same kind of humor as Seinfeld. Possibly that was what I expected. I didn't know that to be the case, but that's what I expected. And that's about it. I didn't really know anything about the show itself, like what the premise is or whatever. But that's what we expected.
Show about nothing.
Probably. Mm-hmm. What did you actually get, though, Michael? Surprise us.
Well, yeah, I mean, honestly, surprisingly enough to myself, after watching this is probably like the fourth or fifth time that I've seen this first episode. After watching it that many times before, I was still laughing. I still got plenty of laughs, and it's not. The thing is about this show and this type of humor in general is it's not really about the jokes. It's about Larry David's reactions. It's about him bickering with people. It's not about the pants tent. It's the fact that his wife's friend thought he had a boner, and he's like, no, I was telling Joe about it earlier. And remember I was telling you, and like his reactions and how but not only that, like he's kind of a despicable person, and he like George. He's like, yeah, right. He lies a lot. And he gets caught in his lies, and he tries to lie his way out of it. So just that in itself is where you get the humor from. And I still laughed at it. I liked it a lot.
Yeah. But despite that, he's still likable in that way. Manages to make himself likable, and even though he's lying and stuff like that, you're still kind of on his side. he still has your sympathy, which is
Speak for
that's a very
yourself.
effective. Yeah.
Is that what you
Well,
got, Scott? What did you
Yeah. I
actually
mean,
get?
What you got, Scott?
well, I got something that. Hold on, there's a fire truck going by here.
That's okay. We're not
Um,
mad.
No,
I got
Scott lives
something
right
that-
on like Sunset Boulevard, so there's always.
they're probably going to go
stuff.
help somebody, so we're fine with that.
Well, let's hope. Yes. I mean, yeah. I got something that had much lower production value than I expected, but looking back, it was like HBO in like 2000, and this is before, before HBO was doing Game of Thrones kind of shows. They were, I mean, this was, they probably, threw $20,000 an episode at this or something like that. Probably had a super low budget. That's how they got it made,
Right.
through HBO, but like shot on video cameras and just the sort of almost like the Office reality show kind of shooting, but like it wasn't even like well lit or anything. It was just like, oh, we're just gonna turn on some lights and shoot here. And it was like, let's make like nowadays, like standards are a lot higher for that kind of stuff. So like me working in that field and seeing that, like technically I was like, wow, this is like really low budget. But then thinking back, it was 2000, and it makes sense and stuff like that. It took me out of it, like the scene, like the first scene when he's in the kitchen and they're talking about making their plans to go see the to go have the double date and stuff like that. It was like really weird and dark and kind of the camera movement and everything. Yeah. But and even the sound, but I mean, it's a comedy, and so you can kind of get away with that because the performances were good and it was funny, and they've got such good timing, the way it's edited and everything like that. And I was surprised at how much it felt like I was watching an episode of Seinfeld, just with different characters. Just it kind of felt like the same world, if you will, where over the top stuff is happening, but in a kind of real world way,
Well, that is an interesting point. I want to talk about that a little more in a minute, Michael. I want to know if the production value did improve over 9 seasons. It'll be you would know. But first, I will tell you guys what I actually got. What I actually got. Let me paint you a picture.
Okay.
So last night, I'm online trying to get something done.
He's picking out his brush.
Yeah, and it was buying a computer, and it was like, I was running into problems and issues, and there was all these complications and things, and
mixing those colors.
And I was pretty annoyed by around 12:20 a.m. And I was like, I'm gonna watch this stupid fucking show now, real quick. It's
laying
late.
down the first stroke. Okay.
And I was pretty grumpy. So that being said, maybe I'm judging this a little more harshly than I normally would have.
All right, the picture's starting to take shape.
But it was a very funny show.
All right, I knew you'd like it.
Wow, that was a long walk for that.
Yeah.
Well, when you take the walk, when you arrive at the destination, you're there.
Right.
You don't need to walk around in circles once you get there.
There's definitely, because you had done all that walking around in circles first. Yeah.
I can tell you one of my favorite episodes is Porno Gil. You said before I had a favorite episode. I don't know if this is my absolute favorite, but one of my favorites is Porno Gil with Bob Odenkirk. He was playing the titular title role.
Perfect.
Can't go wrong with Bob Odenkirk.
Yeah.
Well, and get better soon, Bob. He's still resting up, right?
I've actually heard that he's started to like do guest spots on stuff again already. So
great job getting well soon, Bob. Well, before we move on to all the other fun stuff, Michael, in 9 seasons or however many seasons you've watched,
10 so far.
Did the production value improve?
Yes. Yep.
They started throwing money at him when he started making.
Well,
money.
I mean, like like Scott was kind of saying, though, it's like probably that's how they sold it too. It's like, we don't need much money.
Mhm.
We need a couple cameras, a couple lights, a couple cameramen, but mostly it's going to be focused on the humor. And so, honestly, I can't say that I paid too much attention to the production value. But I can say that I do believe it improved based on actually the 10th season that I watched like a couple years ago. And then the 11th season is coming out now, and I'm very excited to watch the 11th season.
Mm. Well, Scott was right about something.
Wow, that's
For once. Was this
Don't
nonsense,
let it go to your head.
Was this nonsense here? Was that they practically, or was this the opening shot?
Mm-hmm.
I think the opening shot was this guy with his floppy, almost bunched up pants boner.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, I was like, I'm listening. I was like, because I turned around, I'm like, I'm going to watch this stupid thing. And I'm like, because, okay, look, honestly, this is a thing that has happened to all of us, right? I mean, we've all said, like, we've all had pants where we're like, dude, it looks like I have a little, it's not even like an impressive one either. It's always like an embarrassing, like where you're like, it's almost worse that they think it's a boner, not because they think it's a boner, but because you're like, I don't want them to be under the impression that that's the situation here. But
yeah, I'd be happy if that was my situation.
It was long sideways.
Yeah.
Anyway, but right, you guys, we've all had this.
Mm-hmm.
Scott still does. He likes it.
Mm-hmm. I pick out pants specifically. No,
Yeah.
they'll do that. I sit down in the dressing room.
There's a lot of crotch. There's a lot of
yeah.
crotch fabric right here.
Well, you also have to test
perfect.
You also have to test it out with stuff in the pockets, because sometimes the pockets can weigh it down. So you have to test that out to make sure it still works.
Yeah. The type of chair you're sitting in. So many factors.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And like Scott was saying, I don't want to say two things. You said it right, but I thought the same way, where I was like, pretty early on, I was like, wow, this is very much the same humor as Seinfeld. It is right in the exact same ballpark as Seinfeld humor.
Yeah.
And
how did they get it so much like Seinfeld? That's I don't understand.
I felt like Larry David wasn't just purely a George character. He felt like he was just a blend of George and Jerry to me. A little more George, but he was still a Jerry character. I don't know. What do you guys think?
Sure. Yes.
All right. Boy, oh, this is fun.
Correct.
You are correct, sir. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, that's the thing. Like in Seinfeld, Jerry's like the leading man and George is like the sidekick, right? And so in this one, there is no leading man sidekick situation. There's not like he doesn't have a little buddy. It's like he's kind of the leading man.
I'd say Jeff is kind of his sidekick, though.
Is he? Well, is he a recurring character?
Yeah, it's his manager. Like that's like the main relationship besides him and his wife.
Interesting. Okay.
Right. Yeah. So you don't necessarily get that from the first episode. It makes sense going forward that's going to be an ongoing relationship, an ongoing character and stuff like that. But because it's the first episode, you meet so many different people, like, the Richard Lewis character, like how much was he in every episode? Is he like his best buddy in every episode or whatever? I have a hard time with that guy. I don't really like Richard Lewis. I don't think he's funny.
I don't know if I've ever seen any of his stuff ever. I knew the name.
I saw
and
like back in the
'80s,
'80s, but I don't really
when he had a mullet.
remember any of his jokes or anything like that. But
yeah,
I remember him mostly from this show, actually, honestly. But
so that means he does come back.
Yeah, he had this thing in the '90s. Was a a pretty big stand up and stuff like that, and had a couple shows. But
dude,
very
Remember Platypus Man? WTF Platypus Man? Was that Richard Lewis? Who was that?
I don't know.
So,
Who knows?
It lasted like half a season, and it was Richard Jenny. Richard Jenny I think is the guy.
Is that kind of like Howard the Duck?
Mm-mm.
Well, we've had a few recommendations for Dr. Katz, professional therapist, whatever that's called. So
that was a fun one.
Yeah.
Who was that one?
WTF Dr. Katz? Yeah, Jonathan Katz.
Oh, okay.
It was a. I
remember it was terribly animated.
Yeah. Well,
yes,
because it was like two stand-ups. It was like he was a comedian, then he would have different stand-ups on his couch, and it was under the guise of like a therapy session, but just an excuse for them to like deliver their stand-up.
So WF Dr. Katz. Let's make Ryan watch that one next.
Yeah, I don't know. No, you know what I'm thinking of? The Critic too. That was another.
Oh, John Lovitz. Yeah.
Yeah, there's so many. Anyway,
that was a good one. I liked that one.
There are a lot of things, but yeah, I do remember Dr.
That was like a Family Guy almost in a way.
I would say more Simpsons.
So let's talk about the show a bit more, since it was a good show. It was funny. I laughed. I enjoyed the way that they're like, hey, we're casting funny people. We know how they work. We can just let them kind of talk, and we'll get we'll find the best delivery of a line, or the best, interaction in the edit, and we'll just kind of cut around a few things. And sometimes that's where the lighting was really terrible, was when like the camera was coming from like this angle, but they figured like that was the funniest take that they did, so they kept that one. But the lighting was tough. Were there a lot of laughs?
That's something to say. Is this show is I believe it's like all improv.
Yeah,
that's obviously like they have like the situations set, but then like all the dialogue I believe is all improv.
Right. I mean, from the get-go, they're just kind of clearly just riffing. They're just kind of throwing things out there and having fun. Something we would have always liked to do.
Yeah,
we kind of planned that out too. Almost. I didn't realize it was basically already being done.
Almost.
Anyway, lots of laughs in this episode, or not really?
Yes, lots of laughs from the get-go. I mean, obviously, like when he's talking about his pants tent, I got laughs there.
Oh wait, let me predict your biggest laugh, Michael. Let me see.
So I also laughed when Cheryl's on the phone with her friend, and like she's like, "Hey, you want to go to this movie with Larry?" And Larry's like, he doesn't want to go to.
He looked horrified, is what I put in my notes.
Yeah, that was funny. He calls Jeff in his car, and Jeff is on his speakerphone, and he calls his wife Hitler, and his parents are like, "What?" Yeah. So there's just everything that happened. There's a laugh. There's so much conflict in every scene. He goes to the movies, and then this woman's walking the aisle. And first of all, I think Larry was in the right there. I mean, she's sitting in the aisle. You have to know that you're going to have to move for people that are going to have to sit in the middle or something, right? Like, you can't just sit in the aisle and expect people to like jump over you or something. Like,
agree. What do you think he looked at her boobs?
I was going to say he shouldn't have been staring at her breasts, though.
I don't think he was. I mean, he was just, maybe he. I mean, they were there.
And then he said, "Oh yeah, you wore that dress so people will look at your shoes."
Look at your shoes.
Yeah.
But that made you think
thus admitting he was.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, maybe his eyes darted down there for a second or something. But
Well, she was also below him, so no choice but to look down.
Well, yeah, he's got to like shuffle past her, like.
Yeah. I chuckled a few times, but it was, I feel like partially like the production value of the show was a little bit dated. Most of the jokes were, I guess, I wouldn't say timeless jokes, but not necessarily like tied to current pop culture or anything like that. But just the style of the show and the delivery and the things that they were joking about definitely felt like I guess pre 9/11 in a way.
Yeah.
I mean, there was just
nobody goes to movie theaters anymore after coronavirus. Come on.
Yeah, right.
Or after 9/11.
But I mean, just the that too. But I don't know, just something about it just felt like it was from a slightly different time than like our current like world and how shows are and things like that. And not that it was bad, but it kind of felt a little like it was on that cusp of being older and hokey feeling in some ways, it felt to me.
Dude, watching stuff from 2 years ago feels like a different time nowadays. Like,
oh yeah.
The world has changed.
Mm-hmm. They're not even wearing masks.
Yeah, right.
So one thing I thought was funny and clearly improvised was when Richard Lewis was talking about his girlfriend. He's like, we've already had intercourse, which was just a strange. He's like, I've been dating her for 6 weeks. We've already had intercourse.
I've already had intercourse.
It just
she
seems
speaks
like
7 languages.
Yeah, it just seemed like a funny thing to bring up. Like, it just kind of felt like out of left field, but it was funny. But there were a lot of ha moments. Oh, what was one very funny? I got a lot of ha-has here. Oh, yes. Yeah, physical toilet humor was when Larry David is explaining that he says she thought that there was some garbage down. Garbage. But he says, because he was explaining to his wife, oh yeah, she thought I had an erection. She thought I had some garbage down there. And then she says, well, no, your pants were bunching up. It's obvious. And he says, it's not obvious. Look. And he's like fiddling around with it. He's like going around like at different angles and squeezing it and poking at it. And that makes me laugh. What, so sue me.
Nah, I would not win. That would not even go to court probably.
Yeah, that's not illegal to laugh yet. We're getting there though.
One of my favorite parts.
I don't think that joke would even have any standing.
Yeah. But one of my favorite parts is at the end when they're all in the restaurant and then Kathy Griffin comes over because they've set it up that like he and Jeff like wanted to create this lie about why Jeff called and left a message saying he was sorry. And so they're like, okay, we'll tell Cheryl that Kathy Griffin called you and she wanted you to write a pilot and you told her no without even checking with me. And so that's why you called to say you're sorry. And
why such an elaborate lie though? That was like, come on, man. What do you?
But he tells that lie to Cheryl, and then Kathy Griffin comes over, and they're trying to play it off like, oh yeah, we know. And then she's like, no, I haven't called you.
and just watching him squirm.
And then Cheryl's just like shooting daggers at him, just like. And that was to me probably the funniest part is because the culmination of the lie, like Jeff calling and saying I'm sorry on the answering machine, creating the lie to tell Cheryl, telling Cheryl that lie, and then having everything come crumbling down on them. So that was probably the funniest part of the episode to me.
Well, and after watching this show for like 15 minutes, you get the idea of what's going on. So I knew Kathy Griffin was going to show up because that's what happens. He's like the George Costanza where it's like no lie is going to go unpunished.
Right.
And then like you were saying, his reactions to thing is what the show's about. It feels like the show is about him squirming, where he's just like, oh boy, here we go. I said one comment and now I got a weasel out of it. I made one lie and now I'm squirming. I'm wearing these bunchy pants and now I'm trying to talk myself out of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you identify
and I totally like as soon as the Kathy Griffin lie came up, like I knew too, like, oh, okay, well here she comes. It's gonna happen. But then there was still a little bit of comedy in that, in the sense where when they're at the restaurant and she walks up to the table, as soon as she walks up to the table, okay, this is where it's gonna happen. Here it comes. This is where she's gonna open her mouth and say something that breaks up his lie. And there was even comedy in that, in knowing that's what's going to happen, because you're sort of in his shoes, and there, because he knows his character is like, he knows she's going to say it too, so he's just waiting to find out what she's going to say and how he can twist or interrupt her or something like that. And that's what he did, ends up interrupting. And so there was some like comedy in that.
Yeah.
I also enjoyed it when he said, when Richard Dreyfuss or Richard Lewis, Richie Cunningham was asking him to
go, right. The second one was right. Richard Lewis
was asking them to have like dinner or cappuccino. And he says, oh, cappuccino, it'll keep me up till 5 a.m. And he's like, well, what about decaf? He's like, well, decaf doesn't work. It'll keep me up till 2 a.m. So, that's funny, and that's not, situational. That's just the actor being a funny person. Was he an actor before this?
Who? Richard Lewis?
No, the main guy. Larry David, yeah.
Well, Larry David started off as a stand-up.
Okay, I've never seen it.
No, I mean, like, he kind of like, from what I had heard, I mean, I've seen some documentaries about Seinfeld and Larry David. And so what I had heard is that he did stand up, but he didn't like to be in front of people telling jokes. Like but that's when Seinfeld came along, he was happy to like be behind the camera and not have to be in front of people telling jokes.
Wasn't he a frequent character on the Gary Shandling show?
Interesting.
Oh, I don't know that. That would be interesting to watch that. I actually haven't. I have the first season. I really liked the Gary Shandling show when I was a kid, and I bought the first season. But I haven't finished watching.
Yeah, because that's all the same. That they're like all the same cohort of
comics.
New York comics, and
Well, I think Gary Shandling was an LA comic, though. I mean, they all played all those places.
Well, so the reason I asked, if he did any acting before is because he seemed to be perfectly fine and comfortable performing in front of the camera. So I assumed he's done something before, or did improv, or I guess stand up. But I was wondering if he has done anything before. So there's Gary Shandling.
He's played bit parts on Seinfeld for sure. But
really, I don't even remember that.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank goodness we got that squared away. Michael, who's your favorite character besides Larry David?
Oh man.
See?
Porno Gil. In this first episode, probably Jeff. I mean, Jeff is an idiot. I was
not a fat idiit. Just an
characters idiot. that are less than intelligent. I mean, Larry David himself is, doesn't really have social intelligence at all. He just says what he wants to say, and that ends up biting him in the ass usually. But Jeff is just a straight up idiot.
Scott, do you have a favorite character?
I
know.
Character.
So many to choose from besides Larry David.
Yeah, besides Larry David. I guess Jeff, the manager, his manager, agent. Was he manager, agent?
Manager,
Mr. Manager.
We just say manager.
Yeah. Okay, Mr. Manager. Yeah, I thought he's kind of like the straight man, sort of, right, in the relationship, I guess.
Kinda. I'll tell you, upon looking at my notes, I think besides Mr. Larry David, maybe Jeff's parents, because they were so wacky and zany, and they're like, it was rotten, and then the guy was like, oh well, you learned your lesson. No, he's trying to learn his I thought that was a really funny dynamic there when he met them. They were funnier than I expected, so that made me very happy. So that's all I have to say about that. And now it's time to say stuff about Scott Baker, ladies and gentlemen.
Hey, stuff about me, my second favorite subject.
You are a writer, you're a director, you're a Steadicam operator. Boy, you want to talk about Fifth
Producer?
Passenger? Yeah.
Sure. So for people who are new to the show, haven't seen any episodes with me, I co-wrote and directed and produced Fifth Passenger. It's a sci-fi thriller feature film set in space in the future. 5 people in an escape pod, but the catch is the escape pod is only meant for 4 people. So you have this lifeboat in space situation with the stakes going up and alien creatures and all sorts of fun stuff. And if you're a Star Trek fan, we've got some of your favorites in that. Doug Jones, Tim Russ, Marina Sirtis, Armin Shimmerman, Mantuan Harimi, Hana Hate, Ryan T. Husk is makes
also
a
present
in it. Also present. And so it's on available to watch for free. You can see it on YouTube and IMDb TV, which is like Amazon. So if you go to Amazon, you can watch it for free. Tubi, stuff like that. You just have to like watch an advertisement with it, but then you get to, it's a toothpaste ad or something.
That's
and
okay.
You can watch the movie for free.
People are watching an advertisement with Watch the First right now. So what's this Tales from the Other Side thing? I don't know anything about that.
Oh yeah, so Tales from the Other Side is like one of these horror anthology shows, kind of like the ABCs of Death, with a sort of Tales from the Crypt, Black Mirror, Twilight Zone sort of vibe about it. And I wrote and directed one of the episodes in that. I don't have any details about when it's coming out. I spoke to the producer a while ago, and there's like one short that they're still trying to finish to smash it into the collection and put it out. So I did a short called Flicker in that, and we got it's a fun little short horror film.
Short horror.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Short horror film.
Okay.
Horror film, yeah.
So Scott Baker's also worked on shows like Renegades, which you all know very well, or should. But do especially check out Fifth Passenger, of course, online. We'll have that good stuff in the description box below. Very fun time shooting Fifth Passenger way back in the day in 2015, I think is when we shot it originally, plus a bunch of other pickup shots later. But the bulk of it was that. It was a great time. Scott was wonderful to work with. But also you recently shot in Mississippi on purpose. What's up with that?
So I ended up being a steady cam operator on a couple feature films out in Mississippi this year. The first one was like a Bruce Willis action movie with Kevin Dillon.
Bruce Willis.
So it's the sort of, so like some guys, trying to rob a bank to get money to something. And Bruce Willis is a dirty cop, and guns shoot and things happen like that. So we shot out there, which is pretty cool, because you can shoot out someplace like Jackson, Mississippi, where they don't get a lot of movies shot, and so they're a little more excited about having a movie there, and you can get away with doing a lot more as far as like locations you can shoot in. They're like, oh yeah, you want to shoot? Come on down and shoot your movie here. We don't care, that kind of stuff that you can't get away with in LA. I mean, we like blew up a car across the street from the governor's mansion.
Nice. So you missed it. Like, you just missed it. So just the kind of stuff that you can do in LA and in the LA areas, but it's much more costly and everything, like for sure. And out there you can just blow up stuff and they're cool with it. So nice.
And then so I worked with the team out there on that one. And the cinematographer on that really liked working with me, so he called me back for his next film that we just shot out there with Tyrese Gibson, Terrence Howard, and Jeremy Piven.
Nice.
All like tremendous actors, really cool guys to work with, really fun. This was like a jailhouse movie, or like a guy's in prison, gets imprisoned wrongly, but there's like the warden is like, he's got this like underground fight club sort of thing where he makes the prisoners fight to their death, and so the guy's trying to like maneuver and survive through that, and also get himself out of prison and stuff like that. So that was really fun. We ended up doing a lot of steady cam work in that, and a lot of like long oneer shots and things. I'm super excited to see that when that one comes out. So yeah,
Well, that sounds very fun and exciting. Especially the Mississippi part. That's got to be a pretty cool gig that people start inviting you out to shoot in crazy places. Like you were shooting in Vegas recently too, which isn't that crazy of a place, but you know, it's a thing.
Yeah, it's fun. It's fun to shoot out there. I mean, it's always like this time of year, it's like almost you go anywhere and it's hot, and you know the weather's always a factor. A place like Mississippi, it's like hot and humid. It's like 90 degrees and raining every day. And out in Vegas, it's Vegas for people who haven't been out there. It's a desert, and so it's like 115, and
but it's a dry heat,
it's a dry heat.
What's the big deal?
So your face doesn't boil; it just fries to a crisp.
Speaking of frying to a crisp, it's time to move forward. But before we do, everybody, make sure you check the description box below for Scott Baker's awesome information. And now the bottom line is here. Terrible twos.
The bottom line.
Terrible twos. It's the time for the terrible twos.
Bottom line.
Terrific two.
Bottom line.
Yeah, terrific twos, Scott. Yeah. Okay, it's the final two questions of the show.
Terrific line, bottom two.
The bottom two. Yeah. Question number one of the final two questions of the show. They're also the most important questions. Number one is, on a scale of 1 to 10, Michael Kenyon Rosenberg, get your poker face on. What would you, oh God, of course you're going to give it a high. What would you give Curb Your Enthusiasm, the first episode entitled The Pants Tent?
I'm giving this one. I don't know why I didn't give it like a 10 or something like that, but I mean, it was good. It was good. It was fine. I laughed a lot. I liked it, and I'm giving it an 8.9. So it's a high mark, not my highest mark ever, but it was a good show. Solid, good, funny. It was really good.
Scott Q Baker. Scale of 1 to 10.
Q is for cute.
Cutie.
I'm gonna give it a 7.
The old switcheroo.
Yeah.
Yeah. 7.
Why?
Yeah. Just out of curiosity.
Not
out of anger.
I mean, Ryan's prediction was pretty spot on. I thought
so
it was
giving Ryan the satisfaction of having a correct prediction. That's pretty low of you.
My satisfaction.
Gotcha.
And my joy in life is getting Ryan satisfaction. I thought it was funny. I didn't like laugh out loud and feel like, oh my God, I gotta keep watching this thing. Funny.
I don't know if I've ever heard you laugh out loud.
It's happened. I've done it. Yeah. I chuckled and I don't know. I mean, it wasn't bad. Yeah, it was good.
Now 7. That means he likes it. That means my prediction was correct.
Right.
Solid. Yeah, it was solid.
Now for me, guys, the bad news. The bad news bear. Here he comes to rain on your shit parade.
No, he's not.
Which would actually clean it a bit. Michael, for the second week in a row, we're very close. Last week we got the exact same number. Not this time. The number I've been feeling since last night is an 8.7. Maybe it might even be higher if I wasn't in such a sour mood. Boy, oh boy, was I crotchety.
Well, maybe you should get a higher score because it was so funny. It brought you out of that crotchety mood.
I don't want to leave the crotchety.
No,
Okay.
he loves the crotch zone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Obviously, yeah.
so the point is
Ryan the crutch.
8 points. That's not going to take 8.7. Final answer. So, final question also is here upon us. For the purposes of this podcast, we all had to watch the first episode of Curb Your Enthusiasm by Larry David, entitled The Pants Tent. But now that the podcast is over and you're free to move about the internet, Michael Kenyon Rosenberg, would you watch the second episode of your own volition?
What do you think?
I think yes. I think depending on how much time you had when you watched it, you'll consider watching the second episode right there and then.
Not really. I mean, I've seen most of it twice. I've seen the first few, like the first season, maybe like 3 or 4 times. I've seen most of the show.
Funny?
Yes, I've seen most of the show twice. I've seen season 10 only once, and I'm very excited to watch season 11. And this is definitely a show that, you know, my wife and I have to put her to bed at night by watching some TV, and I want to watch something that I want to watch, and she wants to watch something that she's seen before, so she can just drift off. So this might be one of our future rewatches for going to sleep for sure. So,
but then
I would definitely watch the second.
Can you fall asleep to a comedy, or doesn't it make you laugh?
So usually if she needs some time to wind down first, so we'll watch. So right now we're watching Last Man on Earth, rewatching Last Man on Earth, which we've both seen before. And that's funny and we laugh, but then I put on Scrubs, which she doesn't like, and she falls asleep almost immediately.
But are you able to fall asleep to
I am
stuff?
not able to watch. I am not able to fall asleep if the TV's
So you
on.
eventually turn it off. Got it.
So I just put her to sleep, and then when she's asleep, then I'll finish the episode that I'm watching, and then I'll go to sleep. But so I would definitely watch the second episode, and I'm looking very forward to watching the 11th season when it comes out pretty soon, I think.
You know, a couple times I started to kind of tuck her out while watching stand-up comedy routine. So I was like, oh, let me just listen to this. But then I start laughing, and you can't fall asleep when you're laughing. That's why I was so curious when you said that. You're going, and then you're like, ah, shit. Anyway, so Scott R. Baker, would you watch
the is for real?
Yeah.
Keeping it real.
Would you watch the second episode of Your Own Volition? This is a toughie.
I couldn't see it as a show that I would like pursue to sit down and watch. Like, all right, I'm going to sit down. I'm going to watch this show. I can see it as maybe something like I put on in the background, like when I'm cooking breakfast. I like to have something on.
Another cooking show.
Yeah.
That I can sort of pay attention to. And if I don't, like if I miss 5 minutes of it because I'm, doing something else, I get distracted or whatever, I could see it being that kind of thing that I just put on to be like, oh, I'm just down. I'm going to watch all this while I eat breakfast. And then when I've gone through the whole show, move on to something else. That's, but whether or not this is the show that I'm going to do that with remains to be seen.
You still have to give us an answer though. So.
Yeah, that sounds like a yes, but it also kind of finished off with a question mark.
Yeah.
Would you theoretically watch the second episode of Your Own Volition?
Yeah. Theoretically.
Okay. Great. And what's your breakfast of choice, by the way? I really want to get the full picture of you watching this show while having breakfast.
Mm-hmm. Well, I usually make like a breakfast burrito. So it's like chop up potatoes, like thin sliced real small, onions, spinach, eggs, and then usually maybe like cheese, salsa, maybe
tortilla,
a little bit of avocado on the tortilla.
Oh my God, this is breakfast. What are you thinking? That's a
burrito.
lot of what do you eat breakfast at noon? It's going to take you forever to make all that.
Well, it's 10:30, 11. Yeah. it doesn't take long. It doesn't take long to cook at all.
Yeah.
Because you put the onions and the potatoes in there, and then by the time you get all the other ingredients out of the fridge and chop up the spinach and get the eggs and pour the orange juice. The potatoes are done and ready to go, and then you can throw it all in there. Yeah.
Party at Scott's house, man.
Yeah.
Spend the night, sleepover, slumber party.
Fun.
So
yeah,
I would watch the second episode. I'm not necessarily curious to where I need to see what's going to happen next, because who really cares? It's not really the point of the show. It's mostly like, hey, that was enjoyable. Let me treat myself to another enjoyable situation in which I can laugh at this guy's shitty situation. So yeah, the show deserves to be watched a second time, I think, because it's good. It's good.
And Porno Gill is
all
like
around.
episode 5 or 6 of season 1.
Stop trying to get me to watch the 5th.
You can just
I'm not
skip
even
right to
saying I
Porno Gill,
will
yeah.
watch the second. I just would theoretically.
Yeah.
All right.
You will.
Maybe.
Yeah, you will.
Well, we've done a lot of good here, everybody. It is now time to bid you farewell. Please remember to comment in the comments section below, and you tell us, what shows would you like us to review by typing, that is, WTF, a man called Hawk, WTF,
No, we couldn't
Shaft.
find that one, remember?
You're right, we did look.
So
But you
Rock
can still
Lofton
suggest it.
suggested us to watch that one, but we couldn't find it.
And what Sirach
WTF,
says, we
Lassie.
do. Lassie. WTF.
WTF, Mr. Ed.
WTF, Monday Nitro.
Ah,
Ooh.
Yeah.
where would we watch that though? Even
Who knows? We'll ask Darnell. He'll know. Or Aaron.
Aaron
right.
would know.
That's it, everybody. What I'm trying to say is this podcast was crotchety.
This podcast was pretty good.
This podcast really curbed my enthusiasm to watch it
Ah.
again.
All right, everybody, scratch that from the record, or strike that from the record. Please be sure you like, subscribe, and share this with your friends. Give us those comments below. Follow us on social media, and always remember what Mr. Michael Kenyon Rosenberg demands of us.
Don't forget, people, to register to be an organ donor, and don't forget to watch The First of Things. The end.